And not to Davey's left, but to his right on this occasion, is our special guest this evening. You're very, very welcome, Eamon Duffy. Welcome, Eamon. As we know, is a journalist and broadcaster of renown and a former professional footballer. As we know, he played for both Man United and Millwall, amongst others, including Shamrock Rovers and a few other teams back home here. But he 23 caps for the Republic of Ireland. And it's funny, Eamon, we were just talking earlier about, you know, some of the great Cheltenham moments down through the years, and the great Hugh McIlvanney, Kilmarnock's finest, passed away only a few short weeks ago, and Hugh was one of the great writers of our time. And I remember Hugh saying that not only was Arkle one of the great sporting experiences of his life, he was one of the great experiences of his life. And for a man who had been through so much, that was an extraordinary statement for him to make. But it just goes to show you how much a bond people have with national hunt racing, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and in my life, I remember it vividly. I was a kid at Manchester United at the time, and it's very vivid in my mind now, as vivid as it was yesterday. Extraordinary.
Yeah, like it is 50 years ago, and it's more, it's 53 years ago. But like most people in the room probably don't remember. I know my own father's here, and he was well into his 30s when Arkle was in his prime, and you know, there's a lot of people who remember him. But Arkle, you know, had such a bond with this area in particular, and a lot of the people in this area, you know, they grew up and were fed with diets and tales of Arkle. But he really was. It's hard to underestimate the impact that he had on the nation at the time, Eamon. You might just actually use your microphone there if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a national hero, and a great, great horse, and those of us who were lucky enough to see him will never forget it. But that's true of Davey and Andy. I remember Newmill. I've always been a punter. And he was a lead all the way man, wasn't he? He was, yeah. Go for it. Yeah, and so I know nothing about races. I won't be getting any tips. My mission here tonight is simple. I want to get Davey Russell's mobile phone so that I can ring him before every race and find out what's happening. But I'm going to be listening. I won't be talking very much.
But you do enjoy a punt, Eamon.
I love a punt.
You've been a punter all your life.
I have, and I continue to suffer.
I think, like most of us, we continue to suffer. But you might just mention to us about the early days when you were in Manchester United. The likes of George Best and a few of the lads, like, you had so much time on your hands.
Yeah.
That's when it all started, Eamon. And you might just tell us a little bit about that time.
Well, we were finished training. We were 15, 16, 17. Finished training at 12:30, and it was just after betting shops had been legalised. So myself, George Best and Barry Fry, who's a character and still a character, we used to go to Gus Demi's bookmakers. We'd spend the afternoon there until the money ran out, and then we'd go home and cry. But we were there at a time when betting was very primitive, and we actually went to the docks. There were 3 dock tracks in Manchester: Salford, Bellevue and White City. So that's the way we lived when our parents thought we were safely being looked after by the great Manchester United nursery.
Betting nursery.
It was a betting nursery, but it was a wild and interesting time.
It certainly was, and you know, betting has evolved to the point when you consider, you know, as you say yourself, it was really primitive back in those days. But when you consider the amount of information that people have to hand, and all the different betting mediums they have, irrespective of the bookmakers, you've got the exchanges, and you've all of that going on. It really has become very sophisticated, Eamon, hasn't it?
Yeah, for any young people here, you used to have just commentary on the blower. What they called the blower. So you didn't see anything, and you just stood there and waited and waited. And I see a man nodding down there, and you're in a photo finish. But during the race, you're depending on the race commentary. It had its own sort of fascination, but it didn't deter us in any way. But now it's so wonderful. You see everything, and it's much more true to life. But in those days, you could smoke in the betting shop. You'd come out, stagger out at 4 o'clock, broke, with your lungs full of tobacco, knackered. Do you remember putting all the emotion and waiting for a photo finish? Well, it was like waiting for a dance. You didn't get money.
Do you remember Bill Brady's in there above the top of the stairs in North Earl Street? That wouldn't have been too far from where you were working at the time, but they were great places. I mean, you know, you were waiting on the results to come in, as you said, there were lads marking the boards. I mean, the idea that there were going to be wall-to-wall monitors and the type of information that you have, it was unheard of. But just on Cheltenham itself, I mean, in terms of intensity, it's hard to beat those 4 days. I mean, I love big golf and I love the Open Championship, I love the majors, but the majors are basically back 9 on a Sunday. Whereas Cheltenham, from the moment it starts, it's like hell for leather for 4 days. It's hard to beat it, isn't it?
It is. It's fantastic, and I remember too, I'm sure everyone in the room does, when Ireland didn't have any winners. One winner every year, Galmoy, horse trained and owned by John Mulhern, used to win the Slayers Hurdle, and that was it. So what Davey and Ruby Walsh and Will Mullins, all these people, these great trainers, jockeys and breeders are doing is fantastic, and it's great just to be part of it and to see it.
It certainly is, and Davey, that's a great point that Eamon makes. I mean, when you consider now that this thing, the Presbytery Cup, where we were vying for who gets the most winners, I mean, the idea that we would actually get more winners than the English, even maybe 15, 20 years ago, I mean, that was a fanciful notion, and nowadays we're disappointed if we don't have more winners than the English.
Yeah, I suppose that's it. I remember, I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, but Schuler Reig and Lovely Citizen were they were the only 2 winners we had that year, and that's kind of my first memory of Cheltenham, because it was so big.
You're older than that, Davey.
You are older than that, Davey. He's 40 this year, by the way. Don't tell anyone.
But for a horse to come back to Cork after winning at the festival, it was massive, and we were going to the Point of Points every Sunday, and we had a relationship with Lovely Citizen and Eugene O'Sullivan and all of that. So and Schuler Reig then was trained in Dungarvan, so we thought that we owned Cheltenham that year. But even then, to come home with a winner, it was special. I mean, the country, I mean, or not around the county or the local area, but now you're kind of coming back on the first question you're asked is how many winners are Ireland going to have, you know, and what's the handicap on the winners and things, and that's so far away from what we grew up with, from being young lads growing up, to having 1 or 2 winners, and the gap then between Dawn Run and Imperial Call for the Gold Cup, and the gap after it again, I suppose, really, you know, we're
10-year gap,
yeah, we're top of the pops at the moment, so it's I suppose the hardest part of anything when you reach the top of your sport is to stay there, and we're lucky enough to have some very enthusiastic men and women that want to have the horse trained in this country, so it's great that we're able to look after them with prize money and things like that, so, you know, look, long may it last.
Absolutely. We were just talking about the weather, and the weather has been extraordinary. I mean, the lack of rainfall this winter has been unbelievable. I mean, to have good to firm ground at the Dublin Racing Festival, I mean, due to a number of different circumstances, I mean, that was just completely unprecedented. So it's going to be interesting. They have an interesting task on their hands, Davey, in terms of how they're going to actually keep the ground right for the 4 days. I mean, there's no doubt they'll get it right for the first day. It'll probably be on the soft side of good, but it's not going to be easy to maintain it that way.
I suppose the only thing is England's weather is compared to Ireland is totally different. They have a different weather system over there, and that they're kind of used to this time of the year, you know, so they're very good at it. Last year I felt they let it get a bit tight on the second day, I think, and I'm fairly confident they won't let that happen again. So look, they're professionals at it. They're doing it every year for any number of years, so I think they'll be okay on that.
They're probably overly conscious from a health and safety PR point of view to leave it go quick, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a little bit in stuck between a rock and a hard place because the undulations of the track. as in it would force an injury on fast ground, whereas we're different over here on Punchestown, and then tracks are more level and we don't have them big ups and downs, and in Cheltenham obviously you race hard down the hill. The first time to the first couple of obstacles, and then to the last couple of obstacles you're racing hard downhill, whereas in that case it has to be well watered, because a horse just won't let himself go. He just won't operate down against that hill racing hard on fast ground. So that's kind of where the injuries come in more so than any other track. But they're pretty much on top of it now, and you must give them credit. They're a very professional outfit. They look after us as jockeys extremely well, horses and people. I'm sure everybody's experience of going there is good. I rarely hear of a bad experience, and I must say I'm delighted. It's one of the things for us as part of the game. There's two young lads over there. I'd like to know what age they are.
17?
17-year-olds. Lads, you look about 12.
Well, he didn't come here to be insulted.
It's great. It's the one thing I can remember going to a Cheltenham preview when I was a young lad, and I'm just delighted to see young lads here tonight.
No, it's terrific, and that's the great beauty of National Hunt Racing. It's 8 to 80 odd, and any point in between. Brian, this year's festival, again, there's the possibility of throwing up some really, really strange results. You know, horses have been running on strange ground over the winter, so it's very, very hard to, make any sense out of the form in many ways in a lot of the races, and it's possible that there could be some real springers in the pack this year.
Yeah, first of all, I got served in here when I was 17, so the lads have a chance.
Yeah, they did as well. It's obviously a good pull.
Go drinking and gathering.
It's a very it's a funny old year. I mean, we were down at Willie Mullins last Wednesday, and he was telling us that he's only going to have 40 runners this year at Cheltenham, which is down, I think, from 60 or 70 last year. Now I know Willie probably doesn't have his greatest team this year, but a lot of it is to do with the ground as well. And he was telling us that there was 20 horses, I think, that he wasn't able to get out at all this year. One of them being carefully selected, that was second in the bumper last year. So I mean, he's having a really frustrating time. And then it's been a funny old year with everything, with the flu and just obviously Brexit and all sorts of funny stuff going on. Like, so it could be one of these years where you have a load of 33-to-1 winners. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, particularly in the first two races, the Supreme Novice and the Arkle, which are probably two of the weakest renewals of those races we've seen in a while. It could be just one of those years where you have like an Arcanus
it's funny you should say that, because myself and Rob were on a preview panel last night in town, and we were just saying, Rob, that in most years Paddy Power, they base their Cheltenham around the special offers that they have on the Supreme Novices Hurdle, because there's usually an Irish hot pot for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. This year, where do you even start to try and work up a special for day one that's actually going to appeal to the punters? It's not easy.
No, it's not. Like, Willie's had the last 5 favourites of the Supreme Novices, and they've all been fairly well regarded, from Mellon to Vatour to Duvan, and they were always the Irish bankers on day one. At the moment it looks as though Willie's only going to have Aramon, who's a double figure price. So it pretty much says the type of opening race that you're going to have, and then with what happened with the Arkle and the Rishaberg and all those horses getting injured. So it's probably not going to be until the Champion Hurdle that we get a proper betting race, and then you've Benny to do it then a little bit later. But it's going to be a funny start to the festival, and I suppose later on in the festival you're probably going to have more bankers towards then than maybe in previous years. But sure, it's Cheltenham, so we're not going to complain.
That's it. Andy, obviously Gordon had a springer in the Supreme Novices a couple of years ago with Labac, who was I'm sure a few people had backed him at big prices. obviously by the murmur. 40s and bigger prices. It's a great way to start the festival. I mean, Gordon's going to have probably a bigger team than Willie this year. As Brian mentioned, Willie's only 40 horses. I mean, Gordon could have at least 60 odd. I mean, he'll probably run out of lorries to bring them over. And he's undoubtedly, horses like Vision, Dunur, he's got plenty there to fire at the race, and he could win the race with something at a big price. And Davey might tell us a little bit about what he's going to ride in a sec. But this is a race that does look wide open, Andy.
Yeah, well, I think Gordon probably, what he had the last couple of years is a huge number of horses, but I think this year he's really coming through in the quality ranks, whereas I think you see Willie falling away a little bit, which things are cyclical, and Willie had an unbelievable number of absolute champions. You know, a couple of the horses have been mentioned coming through there, the likes of Duvan and Vautour and all these. He had umpteen absolute champions of horses the last couple of years, and just last year's novices don't seem to be coming through quite as good. He probably lacks in the very, very top level this year for the first time in the last, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, and Gordon seems to be taking up the mantle on that. Gordon probably does lack a little bit in the Supreme as well, so I do think it's going to be an English race. The big Irish horse in there is Fakir Dudare, but he's a 4-year-old going here because Sir Eric is in the Triumph. And
it's a huge ask for a 4-year-old to win the Supreme.
Yeah, I had a look at it there today. One 4-year-old in the last 45 years has won the Supreme, so not a great record. No. I'd like the favourite in it. He won well off a mark of 141 in a handicap the last time, and he battled well and stayed on well. So for me, he's the one. I don't really like the second favourite being a 4-year-old, and the third favourite I had liked.
His bubble was burst.
It was very much. I'm surprised he's still as short a price as he is. He was well beaten the last day by an ordinary horse who hung very badly up the straight. He still couldn't get by.
Yeah, Davey, what's your view on the Supreme Novices? What are you likely to ride? Have you anything battened down at this stage?
No, I'll just be waiting until Gordon, whatever suits Gordon, whatever horse Gordon thinks suits me, and I suppose I'm a little bit the opposite to Andy. I think the Angel's Breath is a horse in this race, and I think the best thing for people is that he got beaten at the weekend and he drifted out. You get huge value for your money. I think the value is in him. I think Kempton wouldn't have been his track. A flat 2 miles going at that speed when it was his first run. He jumped 4 hurdles in public before that in Ascot because all the hurdles were taken out. So I would say that Angel's Breath is very much the horse for me, and I would say he's going to go off an awful lot shorter on the day. I think his opposition is limited, and I think Araman is great value for what I'm looking at here. Al Dancer is temperamental, not temperamental, but highly strong. He could have his race run before he gets to the start. Horses have been placed in this race coming through the handicap route of 159. He won the handicap of 141 and is now 152 or 151 around that mark. It's not good enough. It shouldn't be good enough to win Supreme Novices. If Angel's Breath or Araman are not higher than 150 odd, there's something wrong.
Well, the favourite, I think, Rob, is he rated 141? That's Al Dancer.
Well, after the Betfair, yeah. Before the Betfair, yeah.
Like that's fairly decent form. I mean, 4 out of 4. He probably is the deserved favourite based on what he's done so far.
Well, that's it. Like, it's just a race that's sort of cut open, as we said. Willie's got no hot pot. A lot of the Irish form is suspect. And if Angel's Breath had won the race in Kempton, he'd probably have been a 2-to-1 chance. And maybe, as Davey said, it might be a blessing in disguise. Like, I think he was 10 or 12s after the Kempton race, and lads have been backing him since. Like, Nicky went on record before the Kempton race to say this lad is the real deal. So, like as Davey probably said, some horses they learn a lot from getting beat, and maybe Cheltenham might be more his cup of tea, so he could be the springer in the next few days.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but it's interesting as well, Davey, isn't it? I mean, we saw Penhill defecting from the stairs today, Laurishburg out of the Arkle yesterday. You know, as the nuts and bolts start to tighten, this is when the cracks start to appear, and particularly for horses that haven't been really raced that heavily over the winter because of the ground, you're now starting to see cracks starting to appear. Penhill out today, as I said, Laurishburg yesterday, and there'll probably be quite a few more between now and the festival.
Yeah, but that's why these horses horses are held in so high regard when they go through a season and win at the championship level. This is what sport is about. It's about, you see the 15 that line up for Dublin at the start are not always the 15 to finish the game. You know, we as humans put ourselves, you know, as athletes, we put ourselves, we tighten the bolt and we know when to stop. It's just with horses, you know, they sometimes
can't tell you.
Yeah, they can't tell you. So you're going on what you see or what you know. But that's why we build them in such high regard, and why the likes of Arkle is such a fantastic horse that he could keep going all the way through, win Grand Nationals off top weights. Just scandalous what some of these horses are able to do, you know. And but that's why they're champions.
Speaking of scandalous, what some horses are able to do, when you look at Tiger Roll, I mean, what a horse Tiger Roll has been. I mean, obviously gave you one of the best days of your life last year, but for Tiger Roll to have done what he has done so far, and there's not a whole lot to him, which just goes to prove that it's not the size, it's the heart, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. He's a fantastic horse, but credit has to go to the people around him, really. Like, you know, he started his career off as a juvenile hurdler, and he's ended up winning a Grand National, you know. So, you know, credit, I think, and a lot of it has to go down to Gordon, really, you know.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's done a remarkable job with them. Okay, we're going to move on to the second race on day one, and it's a race that's kind of fallen apart a little bit. The Racing Post Arkle Novice Chase. Lerisburg out of the race, Brian, but Lawler is now the favourite, the 5-2 joint favourite with Davey Dusai. But Barry Geraghty was with us last night in the preview, and he suggests that perhaps Davey Dusai might run in the JLT. But this is not a race that JP McManus particularly likes. He hasn't had a lot of runners in the race down through the years.
No, it's a terrible race. It's a bike race. It's an absolute business. It must be the worst Arkle I think I've ever seen. The one I thought through process of elimination might have a bit of a chance is Paloma Blue. He beat Real Steel there at Christmas at Leopardstown. Real Steel actually fell, but I think he had his measure. And then Real Steel has come out and won 2 or 3 times since. Paloma Blue, I think, was he placed in the bumper a couple of years ago to Fayona? I mean, you wouldn't really give him a chance in a normal Arkle, but in this Arkle,
40th Supreme Novices.
yeah, you'd have to give him a chance. I mean, Lawler, or is that even how you pronounce it?
Lawler, whatever you like.
I'd be surprised if he's good enough. And you'd also have to factor in that he's trained by a lady who, you know, is really very new to it, and you know, she's in against, you know, some serious operators here, and like, no disrespect to her, but you know, this is a huge test for both her and the horse. Duke de Geneva, I think, is really second string, because Silius Emery would have been his main hope for this, and he's out too. Kalashnikov has been beaten. Glenn Forza is the Mick Shannon horse that won nicely there a couple of weeks ago. But I think he was being considered for one of the handicaps up until then. Hardline, I'd say, is possibly a good bet at a double figure price. He beat Getteboard there at Christmas in Limerick, but it's a terrible race. Paloma Blue to me might be, you know, a horse who finally shows us how good he is.
Eamon, Mick Shannon obviously has taken really well to the training game, and he was a legend in the footballing sphere in his own right, and whatever he's turned his hand to, he's made a good fist of it. He had a winner last year with Mr. Whittaker, and he could have a winner again with Glenn Forza, but he's a great character, Mick, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a terrific man, Mick. He was great. England centre forward, Manchester City, played in a very good Manchester City team. He's a terrific man, and I see him every summer at Deauville at the sales. But his story in terms of horse racing is he bought a mare for 100 quid, and that's the way he started. And he bred from the mare. He's a genuine horseman, and he is very rare.
Well, the lads used to say that even when he was in the dressing room, they could smell the horse shit off him when he came in.
Yeah, but he's actually from the West Country. He's a country man, and he's a really nice man. And he wasn't well there for a while. He's well now again. I know him quite well. He loves and knows things about horses. He isn't just a footballer. Like, I think Kevin Keegan tried to do it for a while and made a mess of it, but he's a genuine lover of horses, and he bred, and now he trains flat races very successfully. He had a very good season last season.
Very much so.
And he's won classics as a flat trainer. He's a terrific man, a real sportsman.
And of course, he had that trademark windmill celebration. That, you know,
he's a proper man. He's a nice man.
No, he is a very, very nice man, and as I say, made a great fist of the training game. Sarah, you obviously have been to a few Cheltenhams, and it really is. It's for anybody who hasn't been there, it's hard to describe the excitement of it. But you've been working in the betting ring, and that really is, you know, not for the faint-hearted. It really is a jungle, but there's such a buzz to it, isn't there?
Oh, the buzz is unbelievable. I worked my first Cheltenham last year for Ray Mulvaney actually, and we were just down from the main stand, and we couldn't keep up with the amount of tickets that were being printed. They're doing kind of over 1,000 tickets a day. It was unbelievable, and the buzz, you can't compare it to anything else. I've been to Royal Ascot. It's a different league, but Cheltenham, as soon as you walk in the gates, the atmosphere just runs through you, and you're just sucked in. And when the Supreme starts and everyone roars on the stand, like, it's brilliant.
That is, there's no doubt about it. It really is. But just again, for those of you who have been to Cheltenham or are going to Cheltenham, is there anybody in the room who's been at more than 10 Cheltenham festivals? Put your hand up. Yeah, again, so it's like something that once you do it once, it is like a drug. It's hard not to go back the following year, and there's a big difference between being there and sitting in front of your telly. There's no doubt about that. Okay, we're going to move on to the feature race on day one. That's the Unibet Champion Hurdle, and Davey, this is an intriguing race. It's probably a 3-horse race, or it looks a 3-horse race on paper, but you could make a strong case for any of the 3 leading horses in the betting. But you would have to say that based on what Apple's Jade has done so far, a remarkable career for a mare. She won 9 Grade 1s before her 7th birthday, and on what she has done so far, and particularly what she done the last day, Davey, it's hard to see her getting beaten in this race.
Yeah, she's an outstanding animal. You know, you have to forgive the connections for nominating the mare's hurdle all along, because to be honest, they were as shocked as anybody else. I rode in the race last year, and I just could not believe my luck coming down to the second last. She was gone. She was dead in the water. I thought she wouldn't come off the bridle last year. So leaving Cheltenham last year, I thought Bouvier is going to win another champion hurdle, and Apple's Jade is going to be putting forward. You know, and now it looks like she's going to take. She's his biggest threat to his title. You know. I rode the champion hurdle last year. I finished 3rd on Gordon's horse, Big Jazz, and Apple's Jade would be 10 lengths, 20 lengths clear of Big Jazz. So there's no doubt, if you want to compare them like that, there's talks that Bouvier was not at his peak at the festival, or maybe they felt going there, they were happy, but I think when they got him home that he may not have been as healthy as what they thought he was. So then there is that improvement in him, but I feel he will have to improve. You know, you have the horse that was second to him is 16 to 1 in the race, and he has put up a couple of very poor performances against Apple's Jade. And if you're going on that level of form, you're saying Apple's Jade is a certainty, and they have the prices wrong. But she's just the best race I've rode in a long, long time was the race in Fairy House that she won. And that was as true a run championship race as you'll ever get, and she annihilated the field. The slight worry with her is that she's going left-handed, and she doesn't actually jump to her right, but when she comes to an obstacle, she moves to her right and then jumps it straight, if you know what I mean. She just tends to move before the obstacle to jump it. I don't know why it is with her, it's just what she does.
She beat Wicklow Bray, wasn't it, 20 lengths that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, she just...
Which is extraordinary, a horse that had won, you know, a Group 1 race on the flat.
Yeah, she just annihilated the field. I can't believe she's doing what she's doing. Wow, the problem they found with her has just completely turned her inside out, and she's back to what we were speaking earlier on. She's back to what she showed as a 4-year-old. You must remember she won the length of the straight in the entry, literally the length of the straight in the entry as a 4-year-old. She was second in a Triumph hurdle you know, she has solid form before what you might call her form deteriorated last year, as in, but she still won a Grade 1 last year too.
But the issue she had with being in season, I mean, that can be taken care of with drugs obviously this time.
Not drugs, William, stay away from the drugs.
Well, okay, tablets, Davey, tablets.
It's not tablets. It's a coil. It's a marble that's inserted into her, and that's. I'm not a vet. Andrew might know, he's training nurses, he might know more about it.
It's something that it tricks the body into thinking that the mare is in foal, so that they don't come into cycle the way they normally would, and it stops her coming into season.
Great stuff. Every day's a school day.
You would worry then this time of the year that the days are heating up and they're getting longer, and we all know when the days heat up and they get longer, women.
So what you're saying is don't trust the marble. Brian, what's your view on the race? Marble Society.
She's probably a good thing, isn't she? Like, if she produces the level of performance she has all year, she's going to be very hard to beat. I mean, Arena is probably a terrible price at 7-2, considering she's coming in here having won a 2-horse race in Sandown and a mare's race in Punchestown. If Boomer there beats Applestate, he's going to have to be considered one of the greats, because I mean, this will be his 3rd champion hurdle in a row, and beating a horse as good as Apple's Jade. I mean, he possibly hasn't got the credit he deserves, but it's very hard to see Apple's Jade getting beaten. I can see Sharjah running the big race. He's probably the forgotten horse in this, in that he won. Did he win the race at Christmas?
He did win the Ryanair hurdle, and prior to that he won the Morgiana.
Yeah, he also won the Galway hurdle off top weight. So, and
he probably is the forgotten horse.
He is the forgotten horse, yeah. And
he's £9 to find on ratings with Hoover there.
He's going to be ridden, I'd say, to come with the death, like, because he tends to be held up, and it's a really fast gallop. It just might suit him, but he'd worry that he might just get a bit detached. But I wonder, will Applestate be allowed to make the running, or will Nicky try and put something in there like did he do last year?
I'm sure JP will have a hair, I would imagine. Will he, Davey?
You would think too much. JP is a sportsman. He's not going to spoil. Genuinely, he's not.
No, I mean in terms of Boover Dare. Obviously, something to give Boover Dare a good lead and a good pace in the race.
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's pretty much if Jack goes, if Apple's Jade goes slow, it's not going to suit her. So he's going to go on even pace. I don't think. I wouldn't like to be the hare now trying to keep up with her.
That is for sure. Mother, anyway.
Did anybody ever see the dog pass out the hare?
And speaking of JP McManus, I mean, JP of course had he won 3 champion hurdles with Istabrack, and it would be some achievement if he was to go on and have repeated with another horse. I mean, I'm sure JP thought Istabrack was going to be the horse of a lifetime. Boover Dare is not quite as fashionable, Eamon, but it would be an extraordinary achievement for an owner to win a champion hurdle 3 times in a row with 2 different horses.
Yeah, particularly this owner, because he has so many handicappers with small trainers. I'm astonished the way he spreads his horses out, as someone who watches the game and is interested in it. I'm sure there's lots of trainers who wouldn't be training.
He's very loyal. He's very loyal to all his training.
He is, and you know, as Davey said, he is a real sportsman in this sport, and it's a great sport, national hunt racing, and he has so many horses. I watched racing today all over the place. He has runners at Ludlow or wherever. So he's great for national hunt racing, and he deserves everything that he gets. And as regards to the champion hurdle, I'm listening to Davey very, very attentively. Although I did see the fighting fifth when Booder beat Sancro. Well, obviously Sancro wasn't right on the day, and I won't be offering any more opinions on horses as such, because I don't know anything, but I'm listening.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, it'd be a popular winner, obviously, if Booder was to go on and complete the 3 times, and it would would also be a popular winner, Sarah, if you know, one of the two fillies, either Lorena or Apple's Jade. 4 mares have won the champion hurdle in history, going back a long way. A horse called African Sister, of course the Great Dawn Run, Flaky Dove, and of course Annie Power a couple of years ago. So it can be done, and you know, again, Apple's Jade or Lorena would be a worthy winner of this race.
Yeah, I'd love to see Apple's Jade win it. I think she's a phenomenal mare. I've been watching her closely, following her career. She's amazing. But I think Lorena will probably go for the mares. I don't think she'll even run in this, to be honest, but I could be wrong. One for me, the big price would be Super Sunday. I think it's about 14s or 16s to 1 each way shot, and I really like Sharjah as well.
Yeah, I think Sharjah is the one for the each way money, alright. Andy, what's your overall view on the race? Who do you think is going to win it?
I'm a huge Apple's Jade fan as well. I think what she's been doing this year has been phenomenal. I think this is the race of the week. I mean, we spoke about the Arkle, and I was a huge Richburg fan. It's disappointing to see him missing, but it is a shite race with him gone out of it. Whereas the champion hurdle is fantastic. Like, you look through the names of it, people are given different horses down here at 10s and 14s and 16s very good chances. Like when you see the likes of Verdana, Blue, and there's already beaten Bouffardare this year. There's Espoir Dallin is a local horse.
Speaking of Espoir Dallin, I mean, obviously Gavin is a local man, and people, you know, would be big supporters of Gavin. I mean, it's hard for a 5-year-old to win a champion hurdle. A few have done it, the likes of Catchet. But, you know, in fairness to Espoir Dallin, it's a horse that's certainly on an upward curve.
He obviously has had his problems along the way, but he's a very talented horse, and it seems to be just coming right for him now. It probably is quite a big ask in such a good champion hurdle, but you know, he's going there fitting well and in good contention. But yeah, I'm a massive Apple's Jade fan of what she's done.
And if he doesn't win it this year, he could be one for the future. There's no doubt about that. Moving on to the mares hurdle, Andy. And while you're there, I mean, obviously Willie, as the lad said, probably doesn't have as many horses going over, but I mean, obviously he's a great chance of picking up another mares hurdle with Benny Deju, who won the race last year.
Yeah, I think she's their banker of the week. I think they've talked about it. You know, when Willie Mullins is saying his banker of the week, you fairly listen. And when you look through the list of it, I'm probably going to disagree with Jackie here. I'd say Lorena is probably likely to go for the champion hurdle. Apple's Jade is likely to go for the champion hurdle. So that field is going to be decimated as well. But Benny Deju is one that definitely will line up in this.
Yeah, it looks the nap of the meeting, Brian, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I know he did it with Cuvega and won this race without a run. But I mean, Cuvega was a pretty special horse, so I mean, it's always a danger when they're arriving at Cheltenham without a run. I thought Stormy Ireland ran a decent race there the other day behind Lorena, wasn't it, in Punchestown? She's one of people's 6 names. Yeah, you give her a bit of a speak, but yeah, Benny Dedu arrives if she's in the same form as last year. She's probably a penalty kick.
Rob, you